All right, gamers, I'm just going to need you guys to trust me, okay? Relax a little bit. You don't need to worry about owning games anymore, and honestly, once you guys get used to it, you're probably going to like it. I mean, unlimited access to the things that you own? Sounds troublesome. At least that's what Ubisoft believes. Me? I believe something quite to the contrary. Now, with that said, this is part of a much larger discussion on game ownership, digital rights management, or DRM, as well as subscription services. But today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about an article where GameIndustry.biz interviews Ubisoft on their flashy new subscription service. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of a lot of the language that's being used here, but even more so, I'm not looking forward to the future that this eventually leads to. In a recent article from GameIndustry.biz titled, "The New Ubisoft Plus and Getting Gamers Comfortable with Not Owning Games," the article reads, Ubisoft's all-singing, all-dancing subscription offering has been rebranded as Ubisoft Plus Premium. This service is the one that features all new releases, such as this week's Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. It costs $17.99 and is available on PC, Xbox, and Amazon Luna. In addition, the firm is adding Ubisoft Plus Classics to PC. The Classics option was already given to PlayStation players and features back catalog games like Far Cry 6 and Rainbow Six Siege for only $7.99 a month. We looked at consumer behavior and how people were interacting with our offer, and we saw an opportunity for us to evolve, explains Felipe Temble, Director of Subscriptions at Ubisoft. We look at how gamers engage with our different games, and we see that our back catalog is still very active and alive. So we saw an opportunity for us to offer these worlds to customers for a low fee. And this is a response to behavior that we saw from players. Temple says that the company has seen millions of subscribers over the last 4 years who have collectively played over 500 million hours of gameplay. Some sign up to trial one game for a month or two, while others come in and stick around and play numerous titles. There are multiple types of behaviors, he explains. There are definitely a lot of players who come in for one game and decide to buy it after the subscription ends. That's part of the reality, and that's okay with us. Man, this is really spoken by somebody that does not actually play games, and you can read it in the language itself. We saw how they are reacting to certain things that we are doing. One thing that I do have to say is the reason why they're seeing a lot of players that are engaging with these subscription services the way that they are, how they're just hopping in for a month just to check out a game and then probably buy the game afterwards and drop the subscription service, is because of the fact that many of the games that we have today don't allow demo access. I have an obscene amount of respect for Final Fantasy XVI and Granblue Fantasy Relink releasing demos and allowing us to actually give the game a shot before we want to make a purchase. Baldur's Gate 3 did the same thing as well. That's insane for a game of that size to be able to even give you a portion of a demo to play. So many games nowadays don't allow us to see if it's something that's worth our money or worth our time in the first place. And instead, what a lot of these companies are moving to do is paywall it from us. And it's disgusting. Ubisoft Plus Premium's price point exceeds in some cases what Xbox and PlayStation charge for their services. Some of this will be to do with the business realities behind putting brand new AAA games into a subscription service, but Temple believes that the cost is reasonable considering what's on offer. We're talking day one releases with games like Prince of Persia. You get early access. We already have Avatar, Assassin's Creed Mirage. All of these games are available to play. That's a tremendous value already. And there's the catalog too. Thousands of dollars of games. And you don't just get access to these games, you get their premium editions. So all of the added content comes with that. We have rewards too. And one of the big advantages to Ubisoft Plus is that you get to play across multiple devices. From one subscription, you can access titles through PC, Xbox, and Amazon Luna. Thousands of dollars of games that you could remove from the service or charge more for at any given point. And that's the problem with a lot of these subscription services, is that they don't necessarily respect how gamers actually play games to begin with. I guarantee that every single person that watches this video when this video is released has games that they have played maybe for a week or two and then had to put it down for one reason or another. Maybe they just got burnt out on it. Maybe they just lost their interest. Maybe they just got busy with life, but then later wanted to go back and return to that game. However, with how many of these services run their service, they often remove these games from there and then bring them back later. There's a FOMO level of engagement that they try to put in there to make sure that you're hopping in to play that game while that game is available, and then you're also waiting and looking and hoping that it's going to hit the service again later on into the future. Personally, that's just not how I interact with games or how I ever want to interact with games. I want to play a game when I want to play it. Period. There's a lot of debate around subscription in video games. Today, the business model is the dominant way of paying for TV, film, and music, but that's not currently the case for the industry. Games are typically much longer. Many of them are free or feature some form of monetization. and AAA publishers have argued that the numbers just don't add up. Nevertheless, Ubisoft is seeing growth in this sector. Tremblay says that October last year was their biggest month for Ubisoft Plus history. The point is not to force gamers to go down one route or another, he explains. We offer purchase, we offer subscription, and it's the gamer's preference that is important here. We are seeing people who buy choosing to subscribe now, but it all works. He says that the subscription has enabled Ubisoft to bring in new players, with 1 in 10 Ubisoft Plus subscribers having never engaged with the company's games before. It's proving to be a way for gamers to access our worlds who perhaps weren't inclined to purchase, he tells us. And that's exactly how things should be. And I'm glad that he said it that way, because you definitely don't want to be forcing players down one path, saying that they have to pick the subscription service over being able to purchase a game. However, at the same time, anybody with any common sense realizes that as we see this grow in prevalence, our ability to purchase games is going to end up suffering in the long run, because they're going to want to continue to, well, nudge us in the other direction. They're going to incentivize it first, which is exactly what they're doing with their subscription service. You get early access to all of these games when they release if you are on the subscription service. If you're not and you're just purchasing the game, well, then you're going to have to wait, which is crazy to say, because if you're paying for a game full price, how are you getting less benefits than the person that's only paying $17.99 a month? Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Now, with that said, keep in mind those low prices, $17.99 a month, $7.99 a month, sound affordable at first. But if you've looked at the history of many of these subscription services, they are now twice the same price that they were before. And it's only going to continue to grow, up until the point that we're probably going to start seeing subscription services as full price titled games per month, if not more. The question remains around the potential of subscription model in games. Tremblay says there is tremendous opportunity for growth, but what is it going to take for subscription to step up and become a more significant portion of the industry? I don't have a crystal ball, but when you look at the different subscription services that are out there, we've had rapid expansion over the last couple of years, but it's still relatively small compared to the other models. We're seeing expansion on consoles as the likes of PlayStation and Xbox bringing in new people. On PC, from an Ubisoft standpoint, it's already been great, but we're looking to reach out more on PC, so we see an opportunity there. One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They've got to get comfortable not owning their CD collection and DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow more comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you built up in that game or your engagement with that game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. I still have 2 boxes of DVDs. I definitely understand the gamer's perspective with that. But as people embrace that model, they will see that the games will still exist, that the service will continue, and you'll be able to access them whenever you feel like. That's reassuring. The games will still exist. Their services will continue. Is anybody going to tell them? You know what really bothers me about this is that he specifically brings up I have 2 boxes of DVDs. I definitely understand where the gamers are coming from. No, you don't, because you don't play games, and we don't interact with video games the same way that we do with movies, music, or TV, because they're completely different types of media. One's interactive and much longer, and the other ones are meant to be consumed in a single sitting. So it's ridiculous to try to compare them otherwise. Now, with that said, the other thing is that the reason why we're not comfortable not owning our games is because we don't trust these AAA companies, AAA studios, or publishers in the first place. Why would we want to give you all of that trust when you have shut down games that people were playing many times in the past and still do today, even just as recently as the month that you do this interview? On top of that, many of the communities around these games are the ones that then continue to support them. They end up making their own servers that end up getting shut down by the companies that don't actually want to support the game or anything like that in the first place. This is too much. This is just so disconnected. And the reason why this is so disconnected is because it's coming from somebody that obviously does not actually play video games, and they say as much in the first place, trying to make the comparison. I have 2 boxes of DVDs. Why aren't you talking about, I have games that I don't play anymore. I have games that I want to continue playing. But you don't make that comparison because you don't understand us or our needs. Tremblay closes with, subscription fatigue is a part of the consumer reality, and I'm a dad with teenagers. It's difficult to keep up with what you're subscribing to and where. That's part of the challenge we have as a subscription service. and we're embracing that. Despite this, we're seeing in terms of consumer behavior, there's a lot of growth for us, but also the subscription business is a monthly business for us. We're asking for a low commitment from gamers. We welcome them whether they want to stay for a month or a couple months. Now, despite the kind words that are peppered in saying, oh, well, we welcome you to join us for a month or a couple months or stay around as long as you like, we realize that the inevitable future of this is that these kind of subscription services are going to become more and more prevalent. And in some ways, at some point in time, you're going to see where games are going to be exclusive to those subscription services. That is an inevitable future because they are going to want to, at one point, push us into subscribing rather than purchasing. And it's going to cause this weird scarcity where we're going to have less areas to be able to purchase our games, less competition in places where we can actually purchase full games rather than subscribing to a service. And that's going to suck. That's it. It's just going to suck. And I don't really see any solution to this outside of the wider consumer market taking part in these kind of conversations and saying, no, we want to continue to own our games. You can still have these subscription services, but you still need to make sure that you're going to make our other games available. And I realize that that's what is going on now. We still have that for now, but I don't think that's going to last for too long because this is the future that these companies want. And that's something you have to keep in mind. Think about this from a business aspect, how much cost savings there is for them to just use subscription services and sell off of their own platform rather than using others. It's huge. And even more so as we get further into streaming. And this is the one thing that people tend to forget is that right now streaming is still kind of a bit of a meme. NVIDIA, GeForce Now, things like that, not all that fantastic. They work, but not that great. But soon you're going to be able to use that stuff straight to your TV, which means many of these services can completely go around even needing to use a console in the first place. And when that happens, that's when you're going to start to see the big shift. And they're not going to want to sell you these games anymore, because they're going to save so much money not doing otherwise. And on top of that, they're going to be able to lock us in to paying them monthly and keeping us playing their games. They basically get to know for a fact that they're going to have us. Where sometimes when they're coming out with games, it ends up being a little bit of a gamble because they don't know if anybody's going to play it. But if we just have them on a monthly service, it doesn't matter if they play that game or not because they're still playing the other one. So it kind of evens out the cost. This is a hard discussion. It really is. And there's not a lot of platforms that allow us to be able to have the ability to actually really own our games outside of like GOG, where you can get DRM-free games and things like that. But again, like I said, this is something that has to be a part of a larger consumer discussion. It sucks. I don't like having to have this kind of talk, but we have to. So talk about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, subscribe to the channel. If you guys want to support my videos moving forward, there's going to be a link to my Patreon down below. I would greatly appreciate that. Outside of that, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, my friends, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.